Greetings, Signals. Welcome back to Disenthrall. I will be Patrick Smith. I'm going to do a series, maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 episodes long, really short, kind of updating everyone on the status of the major privacy messaging, chat, and sort of community apps that are out there. We're going to start with some news on the Signal app, which is kind of important because I think it's probably the most commonly used text messaging replacement with end-to-end encryption that Liberty lovers use. I want to read this article, most of this article, and then talk about the implications and where it stands today. So let's get into it. This article is by Kit Clarenberg, shows up on his Substack. It's titled Signal Facing Collapse After CIA Cuts Funding. Now, I want to preface this by saying it's very, very easy for hyper skeptics to question any technology. And many times, very often, they go too far into conjecture land. And if they can find some angle, just a single angle, where they can ask a question, not even provide evidence, just ask a pointed question, then they can completely discredit a project. This article doesn't do that for the most part until the very end. But you got to watch out for that. When you're taking in critiques of privacy-related technology, you have to remember a core tenet of rational thinking. Questions, unanswered questions, are not evidence. And this goes for conspiracy. What was the word? Shepard just put out a video on it that I liked. A conspiracy conjecture, which is a better word for many of these things people call conspiracy theories. They don't rise to the level of a theory yet. It's just conspiracy conjecture. So you got to watch out for that. And unanswered questions are evidence of a conspiracy conjecture, not a conspiracy theory. Anyway, wow. All right, let's start reading and talk about the Signal messaging app. On November 16th, Meredith Whittaker, president of Signal, published a detailed breakdown of the popular encrypted messaging app's running costs for the very first time. The unprecedented disclosure's motivation was simple. The platform is rapidly running out of money and in dire need of donations to stay afloat. Unmentioned by Whittaker, this budget shortfall results in large part due to the U.S. intelligence community, which lavishly financed Signal's creation and maintenance over several years, severing its support for the app. Never acknowledged in any serious way by the mainstream media, Signal's origins as a U.S. government asset are a matter of extensive public record, even if the scope and scale of the funding provided has until now been secret. The app, brainchild of shadowy tech guru Moxie Marlinspike, real name Matthew Rosenfeld, was launched in 2013 by his now defunct Open Whisper Systems. The company never published financial statements or disclosed the identities of its founders at any point during its operation. Sums involved in developing, launching, and running a messaging app used by countless people globally were nonetheless surely significant. The newly published financial records indicate Signal's operating costs for 2023 alone are $40 million and projected to rise to $50 million by 2025. Rosenfeld boasted that in 2018, OWS, quote, never took VC funding or sought investment at any point, although mysteriously failed to mention millions were provided by the OTF, Open Technology Fund. OTF was launched in 2012 as a pilot program of Radio Free Asia, an asset of U.S. Agency for Global Media, which is funded by U.S. Congress to the tune of over $1 billion annually. In August 2018, its then CEO openly acknowledged the agency's global priorities reflect U.S. national security and public diplomacy interests. RFA's own origins harken back to 1948. That year, National Security Council Directive 10/2 officially authorized the then newly created CIA to engage in operations targeted at countries behind the Iron Curtain, including propaganda, economic warfare, sabotage, subversion, and, quote, assistance to underground resistance movements. The station was a core component of this wider effort, along with Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberation from Bolshevism. In 2007, a news item on the CIA's website stated these, quote, psychological warfare initiatives were, quote, one of the longest running and successful covert action campaigns ever mounted by the United States. As we shall see, much the same could now be said of Signal. The launch of the OTF followed the U.S. State Department, then led by Hillary Clinton, adopting a policy known as Internet Freedom. Ostensibly, this was an effort to develop tools to circumvent restrictions on internet access and usage overseas. A 2011 New York Times investigation concluded the endeavor was in fact concerned with deploying shadow internet and mobile phone systems dissidents could use to undermine repressive governments. Among the resources developed under Internet Freedom were State Department-funded stealth wireless networks, enabling anti-regime activists to communicate outside the reach of governments in countries like Iran, Syria, and Libya. Reinforcing this analysis in February 2015, Gillian York, director of digital rights group Electronic Frontier Foundation's International Freedom of Expression Division and a member of OTF's advisory board, stated that she fundamentally believed internet freedom was, at heart, an agenda of regime change. A now deleted entry on OTF's website amply demonstrates Signal's conception was precisely concerned with furthering this agenda. It notes the app was designed to counter, quote, restrictive internet filtering by technical methods and, quote, repressive surveillance or monitoring of communication. The fund's subsequent investment in OWS, quote, allowed well over 1 billion mobile users to benefit from end-to-end encryption and, quote, enabled the OWS team to continue providing Signal at no cost around the globe and adapt their operations for a growing user base. I think that is the meat of it. Let's see if there's anything else here. So the question then becomes, well, if it's a CIA asset, why did they stop funding it? One explanation is the app became too popular with Western citizens for the U.S. intelligence community's liking. In late January 2021, changes to WhatsApp's privacy policy sent users scurrying for alternatives, and the mainstream media openly proposed Signal as a potential replacement. This was an extraordinary volte-face. I don't know how to pronounce that. Given the same outlets had spent immediately preceding weeks aggressively parroting fraudulent U.S. government talking points about the dire threat of encrypted messaging following the January 6th Capitol invasion. While media stenographers may have at least temporarily changed their tune, the position of Western spies remained static. With little media comment, Britain's Online Safety Act passed in October. It compels all digital platforms, including encrypted messaging apps, to scan any content shared by their users for child pornography. A noble requirement, one might argue. Yet it is widely opposed by major tech firms and security and privacy experts for obvious reasons. They argue this cannot be done without undermining user privacy and killing encryption. To its credit, Signal is willing to exit Britain altogether rather than abide by the Online Safety Act's terms, that the app is quite so good at helping users, quote, to communicate outside the reach of governments, its original intelligence community supporters have now forsaken the project entirely. It's a bitter irony. However, OTF continues to fund and promote a wide variety of internet freedom tools, which allegedly fulfill that same purpose. Among them is anonymizing dark web browser Tor, frequently recommended by privacy advocates in the same breath as Signal. First developed by the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory in 1990s, it quickly caught the attention. I'm not going to read about Tor. We're going to skip ahead. Yeah, okay, so that's it. That's the story. It's fascinating that the CIA, a program created by the government, funded for the purposes of undermining governments, opposing governments, around the world by providing its citizenry the ability to communicate with each other privately out of the reach of their governments so that they could form resistance to the governments that the United States wanted to disempower, has now become enough of a problem in the US that the government's like, why are we funding this again? So the current state of Signal is it's still using what I would now call old encryption tech. They're supposedly working on post-quantum cryptography. We'll talk more about that later. To my knowledge, that without using quantum computing, the crypto is still solid. It has not been broken. As an initiative, oh, this is also interesting. This is the Open Technology Fund, and they are listing on here Mailvelope, which if any of you use Gmail for some reason, a lot of you will use a browser extension called Mailvelope to encrypt your email on Gmail. That was also in the same line of products. It is also heartening about Signal that they do seem to be giving the middle finger to Britain. And they have written an article saying pretty much what we just read, that Signal is just perfectly fine having losing any customers in Britain or any users in Britain rather than provide a backdoor to their government. So my personal assessment of Signal at this point is it is as trustworthy as it has ever been, maybe more so now that the state is no longer providing all of its funding. The fact that they're publishing their financial information and saying that they have, well, I believe the assessment is they have about a year of funding left before they're out of money if they don't get more income, because they're burning 40 to 50 million a year, which was about what they were getting for free from the government. Now they don't have that anymore, so it's either going to have to come from the users, some other source, or they're going out of business. And the way that Signal is architected, it requires integrations that cannot be replaced. It requires servers running to store data that have to be paid for. It requires internet bandwidth that has to be paid for, that no one is paying for right now. None of the users pay for any of this. It's just been a free app to everyone for years. People are so accustomed to free services on the internet, and so many businesses that provide these freemium services that try and upsell you later or try and ad rev themselves into profitability, it doesn't end up working out. They get a bunch of investment capital, they make a big splash, they get a bunch of users because they're giving it away for free, and then 3, 4, 6 years later they run out of money. They're not profitable. And the worst part maybe about that is not even that that these businesses die and that we lose useful products because of it. It's that they have trained people to think that they can get a bunch of tech for free. And I think that's a detriment. It makes it really hard for companies to monetize their useful products. Anyway, just something to think about. Anyway, so my assessment of Signal is that it's still as trustworthy as it ever was. They're running out of money. They're going to have to find a way to monetize it. If you use and appreciate Signal, you might consider, I think they have like a pro supporter subscription or something. You pay a few bucks a month. You might consider that if that's something you use. Direct replacements for Signal might be Session, an alternate app that doesn't use phone numbers. So in that regard, it's more anonymous. However, in some of the, I can't give it my full-throated endorsement because in some of the groups behind the scenes, it seems like some of the servers that back the network are operating on a cryptocurrency token situation that seems to have tanked in value, which is causing people to leave and no longer support the infrastructure. So it's a questionable future in my mind, as so many open source projects are. Okay, we're not going to turn this into a rant on the problems of open source, but I would just say that I think Signal is still good as a replacement for text messaging. But look, if only the dissidents use Signal, then in some ways Signal is a detriment, because then the government can just say, oh, who's using Signal? Who has Signal installed on their phones? Oh, well, those are the people we're going to watch. But if everyone uses Signal and we move people into this idea of not accepting anything that isn't fully end-to-end encrypted messaging, then everyone gets a lot more privacy out of that. Don't just use it amongst your libertarian friends. Get your families on it. Stop using things like text messaging. Please stop using text messaging. Just don't answer them. And if people want to text you, say, yeah, I'm on Signal. Or, yeah, I'm on Session. Use these alternatives. Get people off of the unencrypted nation-state spy-loving tech for everyone's sake. Okay, so the last thing I want to point out when it comes to Signal and its reliability is this thing that is going to relate to the next couple videos that we're going to put out about the other messaging systems, and that is the advent or the innovation of quantum computing. The crypto involved in many of the mainstream things that are all over the internet. The internet itself is based on cryptography that is now very soon going to be obsolete, is going to be breakable by quantum computing. It's here. In fact, it's right on schedule. I predicted 1 to 2 years. I think 6 months ago I said 1 to 2 years, and there'll be a quantum computer with 1,000 qubits, which might have the capacity to break some of the very commonly used encryption on the internet. We're talking everything from the padlock icon in your browser to Bitcoin, to all sorts of stuff. It's going to wreak havoc, and it's moving way faster than people are prepared for. And anything that uses encryption needs to get on the ball and needs to get moved to what is called PQC, post-quantum cryptography. Signal has not done that. They say they're in the works on it. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about it on Session at all. I'm assuming that they're probably going to copy whatever Signal does. But I just wanted to say, 6 months ago, I said 1 to 2 years, 1,000 qubits. And we just got this article, December 4th, IBM announcing Condor. We have introduced IBM Condor, a 1,121 superconducting qubit quantum processor based on our cross-resonance gate technology. Condor pushes the limits of scale and yield in chip design with a 50% increase in qubit density, advances in qubit fabrication with blah, blah, blah. You don't care about any of this. The point is, the 1,000 qubit threshold has been crossed. Crypto is in danger. The danger is imminent. Maybe not immediate, but imminent. And you need to be leery of the threat of quantum computing is not even so much that, like, the messages you send after they're able to crack the crypto with quantum computing. The danger is that the stuff that you're encrypting now, all they have to do is save it until they can crack the encryption, and they can see everything that they've saved. And they are saving quite a bit of everything that they possibly can so they can crack it later. Save now, crack later. Anyway, so be careful out there, guys. Keep an eye on your technology. The next episode, I want to talk about Telegram. A friend of mine named Jeff wrote an article on the Telegram messaging app. You guys are going to want to see this. You're probably going to want to stop using Telegram, and that's probably a big thing to say, because maybe more Liberty people use Telegram than Signal at this point, especially for their groups. There's big problems, and it's probably time to get off of it. We'll save that for the next video. Make sure you're subscribed and all that good stuff so you don't miss it. Have a great day, guys.